Now, the formal bidding process for contracts to build the planned high-speed rail link, HS2, has been announced. And the Chancellor, George Osborne, who's in China, says he wants Chinese companies to get involved. But anti-HS2 campaigners have criticised Mr Osborne for requesting bids before the project has won parliamentary approval. The 7 contracts cover the first phase of the HS2 link between London, Birmingham and the north of England. Simon Kirby, Chief Executive of HS2, told the BBC that opening up the bidding process is an important step. Well, let's cross now to Westminster and our assistant political editor, Norman Smith. And the politics is all complicated on this, whether you're looking at it internationally and talking about the Chinese potentially being involved, whether you're looking at it domestically. The Shadow Transport Secretary telling us a little earlier that Jeremy Corbyn does support HS2.
And that's interesting, Anita, because if you look at everything that Jeremy Corbyn has said to date, he has been highly critical of HS2. Indeed, he voted against some of the legislation, as indeed did the Shadow Chancellor, John MacDonald, who warned it would blight his constituency and said it could be a line going nowhere. Well, now we are told that Mr Corbyn backs the line. That's not the case for all Labour MPs. I'm joined by one who absolutely does not back the line, Tulip Siddiq. And how do you react to the fact that it seems Mr Corbyn is going to support HS2?
Well, I haven't spoken to Jeremy myself about high-speed rail 2. I take heart in the fact that he did oppose it initially. I have invited Jeremy to come and do a walkabout in Camden and Brent in my constituency to see the sheer destruction that high-speed rail 2 will have on my constituents, their homes and their livelihood. And I hope that convinces him that this ill-thought-out scheme is not right for our country and for Hampstead and Kilburn.
So your sense is this is not yet a done deal in terms of Labour's position?
Well, look, Jeremy's only been leader for all of a week, so I need to have a conversation with him. But I trust him to listen to the arguments against the scheme and make a decision accordingly. So I don't know what his position is. I know the Labour line has always been to support high-speed rail 2, but we have a new leader now. Let's look and see if we can change his mind.
How relaxed are you that the bidding process for HS2, if it gets the go-ahead, is being launched by the Chancellor in China?
Look, I've been very concerned to hear George Osborne's statement. In China, first of all, high-speed rail 2 hasn't been given the seal of approval by Parliament. We're at the second reading. We're still debating it. We're looking at amendments to the legislation. So until it gets to third reading, we've actually voted for it. I don't really see how he has the democratic mandate to go out and ask Chinese firms to bid for it. But my second concern is, should we really be bidding and telling Chinese firms that they can apply for contracts? What about British firms? When we've talked about high-speed rail 2 in the past, it's always been about jobs for local people, the economy will grow for local people. They are people who will be living in the middle of a building site because of this ill-thought-out scheme. Are we not giving contracts to British firms first? Why are we going to China and not Chingford?
Tulip Siddiq, thanks very much for your time. Anita, a lot of debate, uncertainty still obviously about HS2, not least of which, of course, is Mr Corbyn plans to nationalise the railways, and that would include HS2. Now, what we don't know is how investors might react to that prospect that down the line it could be nationalised.
OK, Norman, thank you. And we're going to talk about this some more now, because joining me is Richard Houghton from the HS2 Action Alliance. Richard, welcome. You describe yourself as a not-for-profit organisation which is challenging the case for HS2 and working to get government to take the right decisions. Absolutely. So let's talk first of all about China, about the Chancellor courting Chinese firms, asking them to make bids for the contracts. What do you make of that?
I think, as you already heard, it's strange that he's doing it before the parliamentary process is complete. But in all fairness, if you look at the business case for HS2, it's not surprising the Chancellor's abroad with his begging bowl looking for funds. It started out at 32 billion, it's now at 50 billion. The Treasury believe it'll be 70 odd billion. 2011 prices. We've dropped the Heathrow link. We've got no connection to Eurostar, yet the prices are staying the same. We know the funds aren't available to do it.
Irrespective of the timing of this announcement from the Chancellor, it's not surprising, though, that he's talking to potential investors from China, because so many infrastructure projects, huge infrastructure projects in this country, have foreign involvement, foreign backers and investment.
Yeah, and we're not against infrastructure investment. We're up for the right sort of investment, and there's only a finite amount of funds, so as you say, you have to go abroad. But if you're going to bring in international investors, then I'd be looking to electrify the northeast lines. I'd be looking to connect Sheffield, Liverpool, Manchester and Leeds better. Got to remember, London is 9 times bigger as an economy than Birmingham. It is going to suck the biggest and the best out of Birmingham as soon as you connect it. And as Lord Digby Jones said, it may well turn Birmingham into a dormitory town.
Give me your reaction, if you would, Richard, to what we've been hearing from Labour this morning. The Transport Secretary saying to us a little earlier that Jeremy Corbyn does support HS2. I think the exact quote from her was, he supports high-speed rail, I support high-speed rail, and the Labour Party supports the continued development of HS2. How complicated does that make an already complicated picture?
I think it does. I mean, you've got to throw into that the Shadow Chancellor is gone on record as saying he's against it, although it goes through his constituency, so there are local reasons for that. Overall, there's a lot of opposition to this within Parliament. It's been well whipped in both the votes so far. The public opinion is against it. Every opinion poll says that the country doesn't want it. So if you're talking about investing in high-speed rail, yeah, absolutely. Let's get some high-speed rail out of the southeast of England and let's get it across the nation so we can start to connect those regional economies. If you really want to build the regional economies and create this northern powerhouse, nice strapline there, if you really want to do it, you've got to connect them so they can trade into regionally before you connect them to the monster, which is London's international economy.
Is this a done deal now? Is there really the political will, the political opposition to stop this bill?
I think it depends entirely on what happens to the economy between now and the third reading. Let's be clear about it. You know, we've borrowed 1.6 trillion pounds at the moment. This is going to cost in excess of 100 billion by the time you get to 2020 prices. It's a significant infrastructure project, and there's clearly no supporting evidence for the economic benefits. So I think it's still in the air, but it's getting more likely.
Okay, Richard Houghton, Director of the HS2 Action Alliance, thank you very much.
Thank you.